Chris, welcome to Chamber Chat. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Well, first off, let's start off by asking you who you are and who you represent.
My name is Guérette, and I have the privilege to serve the real estate sector in this province. So I'm CEO of the Saskatchewan Realtors Association.
So for the audience out there, what do they do?
Yeah, well, we serve almost 1,700 professionals that trade in real estate, either residential, commercial, and farm.
Right.
So that's a lot of business here in this province, and we have members, and we're growing every year.
So that organization is relatively new, though, right? Because it was an amalgamation, is it not? Can you tell us that story?
Yeah, I mean, despite us having, over 100 years of history,
Right.
We amalgamated. So we are still, I mean, we punch above our weight in Saskatchewan, but we're still relatively small. And so we had a number of small real estate associations and boards across
Right.
the province. And so that we can do more with less, we amalgamated and we became one association. And that started January 1st, 2020. And now it's really exciting what we can do being one strong entity
Right.
across the province. It especially means those who are looking to work with the real estate sector in Saskatchewan, they just have to deal with one player. And so it's really starting to produce some exciting developments in our sector.
Well, good for you. And I think that's the one thing that you do very well is the advocacy side, is it not? You spend a lot of time on that.
We spend a lot of time on advocacy.
Yeah.
Advocacy with, we do have a regulator, but advocacy at the municipal level, provincially and federally.
Right.
Because you know what? Real estate touches pretty much most, aspects of anybody's business. Whether you're looking for, a building for your business, you're looking for, portfolio in your investments, whether you're looking for a home, upgrading or downgrading your home. And so I think for the most part, people relate to real estate with homes because, the vast majority, well, everybody needs to live somewhere.
Right.
And so that's where we do a lot of our advocacy, but real estate is really from the business side to agriculture to housing.
And the agriculture side, I mean, let's talk about a little bit about that. Just touch on that. Like it's obviously very big in this province.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Housing is huge.
Yeah.
And so when we have been talking about housing for decades, and there's a crisis in this province in housing.
Right.
And so we have to build close to 100,000 units in Saskatchewan.
Wow. It's a crazy number.
Over the next decade.
Yeah.
That's huge. We know how to do it. We've done it before. That means we would need to build between 9,000 and 12,000 units per year. So we take a look at starts and permits to calculate that.
Gotcha.
We've done that before. We know how, but the landscape is definitely different now. And so we feel we have an important role to play to advocate for more housing. And you know what? It doesn't matter if it's just home ownership or rental. Anything in that housing continuum means it's good for something else in that housing continuum.
Right.
So, even though our professionals do deal a lot with home ownership, they also do deal with, those individuals who are looking to purchase and be housing providers as opposed to, owning a home. So there's all kinds of facets to that dilemma, if you will. And so we will continue to advocate for more homes and affordable homes and choice of homes, which I think Saskatchewan's well poised for.
And it's interesting that, like I know in Regina here, there's been some recent changes that are actually allowing for higher density. Can you talk about that and how important that is?
Yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
Regina moved really quickly on that. I really have to applaud their efforts. When it comes to housing, zoning, anything having to do with changing neighborhoods, typically elected officials have a really hard time with that because we're politicizing where someone lives, and that's really tough. But you know what? Regina saw an opportunity. They knew that there was a crisis. There was a partnership, laid in front of them with a lot of potential with the federal government, and they jumped on it ahead of anybody else in the province. And so I have to applaud them for that. They decided that minimum parking was removed throughout the city. Zoning allowing more units per lot. Height restrictions have been loosened up a little bit, if you will, and that all means that we can create more on less. So when you say density, at the end of the day, in Saskatchewan, we know very well that land is very valuable.
Yes.
You can use it for farm, you can use it for industrial, and you can use it, municipalities use it, for either parking, housing, business. And so if we can put more on land, that means that we're respecting the value of that land, we're densifying, we're doing more with what we have, and we're also, municipalities like it because it's, there's more revenue per amount of land. So
Right.
Regina, kudos to Regina. They did really well there, and they just recently announced it with the minister, and I was very happy to see that.
So that's the municipal level, and obviously you work with Saskatoon and other
Yep.
municipalities throughout the province. So, but you also advocate at the provincial level too. How does that go?
Well, every level of government
Right.
has a role to play. I'll always say, though, that housing is a very local issue. It's very, very local. Because what happens in
Interesting.
Regina
Yeah.
will be very different than what Saskatoon needs or what Melfort needs
Yeah,
or
okay.
Prince Albert. So there's always that local flavor. And why is that? It's because your housing needs to represent what your community needs or desires, right? And every community is different, from economic to social aspects. And so when we take a look at the province still has a role to play. And so we were really happy to help the government make some really sound policy decisions in the last budget in terms of continuing on with the PST exemption
Right.
on new home builds. That's really great. And for secondary suite incentives. So helping those who are currently homeowners who are maybe having a hard time making ends meet. Well, here's an incentive so you can also be a housing provider and maybe help your family budget with that. And so we think those are two very good policy decisions.
Good stuff. Now, so we're a few years removed from the pandemic, and you worked through that. I mean, what do you see in terms of the housing industry and the real estate industry today?
The pandemic has impacted forever how we live in our homes. And so we required our homes more than ever to be safe. And we see that impacted throughout that continuum. And so people now work in their homes more than ever. People go to school in their homes now more than ever. And where they need to feel safe is in their home.
Right.
And people also moved around a lot more. People created new families. Families were also, we call this family formation, but families also split up, and a lot happened during the pandemic that impacted families and individuals, and so that had a tremendous impact throughout the country on the housing continuum. We're in a housing crisis not only because of the pandemic, but the pandemic kind of sped that up.
Right.
We already knew that we were going to have a shortage. We knew that. We could sense it. The inventory was not what it should be. And when we say it's not what it should be, it's because if you are looking for a house one day, you need to be able to move into the house that you want or need with relative ease, right? You shouldn't be in a position where you're stressed and you can't find a place to live. So when we take a look at the quantity that we need, that's kind of what we look for. So for example, if your child's moving out of your basement and is ready to find a condo, they should be able to do that with relative ease, right?
It's not the case today, though, is it?
It's not. There's a lot of challenges. First of all, people are aging in their homes a lot longer. There's not enough inventory out there. And with inflationary pressures, I mean, some people are also choosing not to move right now because they just kind of want to wait and see if interest rates are going to go down. And so those are all different factors that have a tremendous impact on the market.
And I know your group studies this. Where are interest rates going with respect to mortgages?
Oh my gosh, everybody's asking that, right? I follow what the experts are saying. I'm the first one that puts a tremendous amount of value on the experts and those who have spent a lot of years studying and becoming what they are today. And so we're hopeful that this year we're going to see some relief. That's not going to be enough for Saskatchewan, though.
No.
In Saskatchewan, we're very fortunate. We're very fortunate that we're the most affordable province in the country. And so that I know that sounds pretty flat for individuals who are still struggling
Yeah.
to find suitable housing. But we are the most affordable in the country. But that also means that it's very hard for those entrepreneurs, those developers, those home builders to actually make a profit out of that.
Right.
And so even though the inflationary pressures may go down, what it costs to build a house today, a home, is so much more expensive than it was before. And so in some provinces, they're saying up to $80,000 more per unit. And so it'd be interesting to see that cost for Saskatchewan, but regardless, we know that it costs a lot more. So we're going to have more incentives to help people get into that very beginning of that housing continuum. So in Saskatchewan, anything under 350,000. So what can we help to get those more inventory in that segment?
And that's truly what you're working on. You're advocating for that to increase the supply, if you will, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we need to bring more supply to market faster.
Right.
We know how to build very good homes here in this province. We
Right.
have builders who know how to do that. So let them do their work, and let's help them do it faster.
So you have a background in the home builders, because tell me that you were part of the Saskatoon Home Builders Association.
Yes,
prior
I'm
to this job.
fortunate. I've been
Yeah.
in real estate for over a decade in some form
Yeah.
or another. And so I was real estate for a little bit, then I dabbled with the home builders out of Saskatoon, so the northern
Right.
part, the northern half of Saskatchewan, if you will. So I spent about 6 years there. And then I came back to real estate and have been here for 2.5 years.
It's a brilliant background, so it allows you to have a firm grip on what's happening with real estate throughout the province, correct? Yeah.
Well, at the end of the day, it's learning how to listen to those people who are on the ground.
Yeah.
So the builders who are doing their work, the land developers that are there, the real estate professionals, those realtors that know very well what's going on. So I may not be the expert, but I have to learn to listen really well. I say there's no other sector right now that has a really good tab throughout the economy of what's going on in individuals' homes before it actually hits those, statistical reports
Right.
that we all get.
Right.
We have 1,700 professionals throughout the province who are dealing with that business professional that's looking to sell or buy,
Right.
commercial real estate, to that homeowner or, the renter that's looking to buy a home. That's what's happening. Those are like the boots on the ground. We get real-time feedback from those people before we even get them from government reports.
Right. I want to touch on something you just said, the commercial real estate sector.
Yeah.
It's a tough go right now in terms of leases. I look at Calgary,
Yeah.
downtown Calgary is, I believe, 30% vacant
Yeah.
in terms of office space. What do you see here in this province?
Well, there's a bit of a lag from what I hear from our professionals in terms of what other provinces are experiencing. There's a bit of a delay here.
Okay.
But I am hearing that there's some recent activity that's showing some encouraging economic investment, if you
Right.
will. But at the end of the day, after all that, it comes down to competition. Can Saskatchewan compete with other provinces in attracting those investments and attracting people to invest in their businesses here? That's what it is at the end of the day.
So what's your take on that, Chris?
We need to compete better.
Yeah.
100%.
Tell the good story.
We have to show momentum.
Yeah.
So when there is a good story, for example, the city of Regina that just
Yeah.
has a partnership with the federal government, let's show momentum. We know how to do this. So showing momentum, but having some key decisions where you can demonstrate that you're bold and you're ready,
Yes.
that will cut through all of that, and people will say, hey, have you heard what Regina just did?
Yeah.
And starts talking. So those bold decisions actually create that marketing effect and that trust that you want to demonstrate that talks beyond media, right? So those are, I would say, two of the pieces that I'd like to see more of here in Regina and Saskatchewan.
I use that same terminology always. And be bold, right?
Yeah.
Tell the good story. It doesn't get told. So do that, right?
Yeah,
So
unapologetically.
Yeah, exactly. Don't apologize for it.
And it'll probably ruffle feathers.
That's okay.
And that's okay.
Well, so you and I actually know
Yes.
each other a little bit because we're kind of the same. We work together on a board. So you do lots of work outside of your day-to-day job in terms of boards, etc.
Yeah.
Tell us about that, your community efforts.
I love to find a way to give back. I love governance.
Yeah, me too.
Love it. And so I love serving on a board with you as well.
Yeah.
But recently I've had the opportunity to join the board of Sanctum Care Group,
Yes. Yeah.
which is Saskatchewan's first hospice and respite care for those who have HIV, AIDS. And on top of that, they have Sanctum 1.5, which provides a place for women who are not properly housed, who have HIV AIDS, and who are pregnant. So, you know, if you want to talk about a lot of cards and challenges dealt against you, like I can't imagine. So I hope I can support this group as best I can. And I found out about this group because they have a really neat fundraiser, and it's Sanctum Survivor, where you have to spend 36 hours on the street.
So you have done this, have you not?
And I've done that last year.
Yeah.
And I figured when they asked, I don't have an excuse to say no. I can't talk housing. I can't do all of this on the business side.
Yeah.
And then say no, I'm not going to experience that. And by no means is it meant to properly mimic what somebody's going through, but it is intended to be a very small window. And so I said yes, and we spent 36 hours on the street with 10 other of my colleagues.
No cell phone, no, you have nothing, correct? Tell us about that.
We have nothing. So you show up at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And you're not allowed, nobody's allowed to drop you off. You have to take a cab, they drop you off. And you have to pick your clothes from a bin.
Wow.
Yep. And then you put all of your belongings away. And you're given a persona of a typical person and the challenges that they would have. And so the character that I had was somebody who had been incarcerated because of drug use. There had been an explosion, so my lungs were damaged, and so I had to walk using a straw, breathing through a straw.
Oh, good Lord.
And then I had to take a pause every few minutes. And then I had to carry a tank. And then there was, I forget how many, maybe 30 to 50 different challenges that you had to do. So get tested for HIV.
Right.
Try to find housing. Try to apply for social assistance. Try to, go wash your clothes. Try to go see a counselor to help you with your mental health. And so 30 different challenges that you try. And those people face tremendous amount of challenges just on the everyday, and try to find a place to sleep at night. So I was fortunate that I wasn't alone, but we did spend the night outside.
Yeah. What time of year was that?
It was in May.
So yeah.
Yeah.
It's still chilly. Yeah.
It's still chilly.
Yeah.
And learning to wear everything that you own on you so that you're not going to be cold at night. And my biggest takeaway through all that is there is a community out there. Just like there is a community like your neighborhood and my neighborhood, our neighbors.
But they have their own neighbors.
There's a community out there, and they unapologetically just kind of welcomed me and gave me tips, helped me out. And that was probably the biggest takeaway for me. Yeah.
Good on you for doing that.
There's good people out there.
Yeah. And your perspective is probably changed. And you're changing other people's perspective as well.
They're good people.
Yeah.
They just don't have a home.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Interesting. Don't want to end on a sad note. So let's talk a little bit about you and your family. You have come to Saskatchewan. What year did you come to here?
Oh, forever ago.
Yes,
Trent.
thank God you did. Yeah.
This is home. I mean, when did I come here? In 2003. So it's been
a while.
It's been over 20 years.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah, and you know what it's like once you have kids.
Yeah.
Where you have kids,
You're planted.
It becomes home.
Yeah. You have 2 children, right?
I have 2 kids. I have 2 teenage boys, a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old.
They keep you a little busy.
They really, really do. They keep my mind busy for sure, because they also love to be involved in their community and in their school, and so we're very busy.
Well, that's good. I'm so glad you're here. I wanted to ask you about your relationship with organizations like the Chamber and Economic Development in Saskatoon and in Regina. How important are those relationships?
Those are the foundation, in my opinion, of any professional, any business. The first question I always ask if I'm hiring a professional is, are you a member of your professional community?
Right.
And are you a member of, the Saskatchewan Realtors Association? There are many others, right, sectoral professional associations. And are you a member of your chamber? Because if you're not willing to be a part of that community and give back and sit at the same table as some of your competitors, are you really in it for the right reasons?
Right.
And so I always ask that question. And I think that should be a first question for anybody using a business is, are you a member of that network? Because that network is actually a collective of people who have brilliant minds, brilliant ideas that can actually help our province thrive even faster than it is.
Right.
And our decision makers, our governments need to learn how to lean on those groups more because they know what's happening. They're the boots on the ground. They know very well the reality out there.
Good. Well said. In terms of advice to young people that want to, or middle-aged people that want to get into, I'm the old guy, to get into real estate, what would you advise them?
Well, I mean, you're probably already in real estate, right?
Yeah.
Are you a business owner? Are you renting?
Right.
Are you looking to buy? You're utilizing real estate already? And so are you looking to build your portfolio? Are you looking to be a professional in that field? There's a number of professionals that, invest or that, interact, if you will, with the real estate sector.
Right.
Think about realtors, that's what typically people think of, but there's accountants, there's lawyers, there's engineers. Think about all of those professionals in a real estate transaction, whether you're buying or leasing, that actually come in to assist professionals and business owners through that process.
Yeah.
And so there's various parts through all that. Fun fact for you, for every real estate transaction of a home, so just picture how much that would be on the business side, but for every real estate transaction on the residential side, that spurs an additional almost $55,000 back into the economy.
How important is that?
How important is that, right? Through, retail purchases to hiring other experts to you name it. And that's huge.
It's an important part of our economy.
Yep.
Our not only our local economy, but our provincial economy.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're leading it. That's fantastic.
Well, thank you. I'm really happy to be there.
Thank you so much for joining us today at Chamber Chat. I appreciate it, Chris.
Thanks for asking.
Okay, all the best. Take care.
Chamber Chats is produced bi-weekly by Skycron as a service to the Regina business community. We produce many series, including the television series Go Nitro for NBC Sports, CBS, and Fox, as well as corporate videos, events, and live streams, all right here in Saskatchewan. We can do the same for you. If you have a video project for your organization, call us at 306-720-0097 and let's get started on your next project.